My name is Christina DeBono, and I'm one of the WeHub members and president of ClearTech. And I am co-hosting this event with Diane Coles-Levine, who is a co-founder of WeHub and president of Workplace Management Solutions. So welcome, everyone. We're very excited that you've joined us for this event tonight about engaging the future through space and technology, which is a topic that everyone, whether you're in the A&D community, you're in the furniture industry, you're in the audiovisual industry, IT, facilities, or human resources, we're all dealing with.
We don't know how to sit.
So funny.
I'll sit here, Matt, so you'll feel better.
IT person. Isn't that cool? This is an example of flexible furniture.
I like seeing the guys in the back anyway. I'll know if you're sleeping in those comfortable chairs, yeah.
Where is Adi?
He's having a drink.
You're not joining us. We're all addressing the changing workplace environment because of the dramatic changes in demographics today and technology as it impacts the workplace. It's changing all of our lives in different ways, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I want to thank the sponsors for this event who have all come together to make this happen, starting with Allsteel. And Allsteel opened up their new downtown LA showroom within the past year, and it really depicts how the workplace environment is changing by using collaborative furnishings and workspace to showcase how we can make an open, collaborative environment work and be flexible. And I want to bring up Pam, who's our workplace strategist for Allsteel, to let us know more about Allsteel.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. As we mentioned, this is our first WeHub event here, so it's pretty exciting to see so many people. I real quick want to thank Laura from our team. I don't know where she is, but she really was instrumental about pulling it all together and everything that we need to do. So big thanks to Laura. Allsteel, I hope you're enjoying our showroom. We have our local team here. As it was mentioned, I'm part of our workplace team, so I work nationally with our field sales as well as our clients. So if you have any questions after this, like I said, we have our whole team here, and we would love to talk to you about furniture.
Thank you, Pam, and the Allsteel team. I want to thank one of our main sponsors for this event, Crestron, which is a global provider of audiovisual technology solutions that go into today's workplace and learning environments. Lance Martin is the regional sales manager for Crestron, and I'd like to bring him up to say a few words about Crestron.
So first I want to thank Christina for inviting us to be a sponsor here. And I want to say great job to Jenna Keever, who's going to be one of our panelists, in that she helped set up some of the equipment here. For those of you who don't know who Crestron is, we've been around for over 45 years. We're global, and we're in workspaces everywhere. So Fortune 500, we're in about 80% of all those companies. And so you can find our technology in room scheduling, as we demonstrated here. Take a look at our Mercury, which is in one of the first conference rooms there. It's a great little audio conferencing device. And so we'll leave our cards. Should you have any questions or anything, please let us know. And again, thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you, Lance. Lance has to catch a train back to Orange County. I want to thank another major sponsor, which is Epson. Epson is also a global manufacturer of display solutions, and they actually have a couple of their products on display here tonight. And I want to have Veronica Montoya from Epson come up and say a few words about Epson.
Hello and welcome everyone. I want to thank ClearTech and Allsteel for having us here, and I wanted to present our projector here. Basically, we have a global market in not only projection but also in printing, scanners, and different marketplaces. If you have any questions on the particular items that we have, please feel free to go in the back for our interactive projectors or come up front to see our laser that is a 12,000 lumen projector. We had actually one installed last year for one of ClearTech's Angimoto customers, and basically this actual projector is made to be hidden from the actual focus. So if you notice, the projector is hidden and you could actually project up to 1,000 inch diameter. If you have any questions, please come on over and have a talk with us. Thank you.
And briefly, I also wanted to thank the ClearTech technical team for setting up and supporting this event. We have our technical specialists, JB Ernie, Joe Perez, who's our Director of Technical Services, who set up and supported this event. And while we don't have the representative here tonight, Shure Microphones, which is the leading market provider of microphones and audio equipment, actually donated the PA system for this. So I've had the pleasure to gotten to know Diane Coles-Levine over the years, and we've actually collaborated extensively, especially over the past year, who asked if we could co-host this event. And Diane is the co-founder of WeHub, the global organization, and also is the president of Workplace Management Solutions, helping clients with their workplace strategies. She's a member on the board of directors of IFMA globally, and she is the author of 2 award-winning books, one of them that we're going to be raffling tonight, Work on the Move and Work on the Move 2. She's a regular workplace strategist and FM link, so if any of you get that new e-newsletter, she's featured there regularly. And she's a contributing author to the FM professional journals. So with that, I'd like to ask Diane to come up and introduce the panel and the topic tonight.
Thank you so much, Christina. I am so excited to be here tonight. This has been a dream come true for me to launch the first WeHub in Southern California. There's a couple of folks I want to asked to stand up. Arnold Levin, who is on the We International Board. And Bo came all the way from IFMA, Sweden. He gets the award for the longest distance. I just can't tell you how excited I am. We've got a fantastic panel tonight, and we're going to be talking about the blending of the physical and digital workplace and learning from our esteemed panel. Let me just introduce them. Cosette Hart is the Chief Human Resources Officer at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. She's responsible for developing and delivering programs and services that help attract, reward, develop, engage, and retain a highly skilled, diverse workforce of more than 6,000 employees. She has a bachelor's degree in finance. That's unusual for HR, from Montana State University, and she has an MBA in finance from the University of Nebraska. I think it'd be interesting to find out how you went from finance to HR.
Directly.
In 1984, she joined the Hospital Council of Southern California, where she provided human resources consulting services to more than 200 hospitals. She held various HR positions at ARCO, and when they merged with BP, she became the vice president of HR, and she managed over 15,000 employees. Right now, Cosette is leading the Workforce 2025 institutional executive team, where they're identifying strategic initiatives to address people, place, process, and work practices. Our second panelist is Matt Abraham. He is a technologist. He's a collaboration engineer at Sempra Energy. He represents the digital workplace. So Matt has over 15 years of experience designing, deploying, and supporting complex communication systems across the globe. He's got a rich background of systems engineering, network engineering, applications integration, and he holds numerous certificates from a variety of manufacturers in the digital world. At Sempra, Matthew supports all aspects of collaboration services across their corporate and utility business units. This includes maintaining the collaborations roadmap and partnering with facilities to standardize effective solutions. So thank you, Matt. Our millennial representative is Jenna Keever, a rising star. Jenna is the regional sales associate for Crestron Electronics, and she's responsible for Crestron's growing business in the Southern California region. She holds a bachelor's degree in business and management and also a master's in business and marketing from the University of Wisconsin. She's a recent transplant from Wisconsin to LA. Avi Grigoresco, did I say it right? He is the Capital Projects Team Manager at Kaiser Permanente National Facility Services here in West LA. Avi manages capital projects, which includes medical center campuses with a 265-bed acute care hospital and a 52-bay emergency department, as well as various medical office buildings in Greater Los Angeles. Prior to joining Kaiser, Avi led several major projects, including master planning and development of the County of Ventura Replacement Hospital and a new research lab at UC Riverside. He also manages several projects at renowned health facilities throughout California, Arizona, and Nevada. Avi has won awards, many awards, one of them from Building Design Construction magazine back in 2010. He won the Platinum Award for the UC Irvine Douglas Hospital project. He's a registered architect, licensed to practice in California and Arizona, and he completed his architectural studies in his native Romania. Last but not least, Rodney Stone. Rodney Stone was educated, he's a New Yorker, you'll be able to tell by his accent. He was educated, he parks the car. He was educated at Pratt Institute School of Architecture, and Rodney's a seasoned professional in the field of interior architecture and facility management. He relocated to LA in the late 80s after more than 2 decades of planning, designing, and managing major interior architecture projects for corporate, financial, and professional services companies on the East Coast. In 1994, as the result of a merger with his design firm, he became president of ENV.
Formerly Environetics.
I got that right. Rodney's been a frequent lecturer in facilities management. He is past president of the IFMA San Fernando Valley chapter. He's mentored lots of facility managers here in LA and San Fernando Valley. He's a past president of and I think the founder of the IFMA's Computer Applications Council. And he's also a member of Cornet. So thank you, panelists. How do we create workspaces? And can you talk a little bit about what you're doing at JPL to create workspaces to meet the demographic needs?
Okay.
With
So
your staff?
I have, that's far too specific because I want to talk a little bit about the strategy first. So we attacked the issue at JPL on sort of 4 fronts: the generational shift, the war for talent, the rise of social media and technology, and the globalization of the workforce. So we looked at all 4 of those issues and started to design a strategy moving forward on how do we continue to attract the best and the brightest. And we did it through data, because we're an engineering organization mostly, in terms of looking at what is it that millennials want, what was going to happen with our own workforce, and then surveying through engagement surveys, pulse surveys, culture surveys, et cetera, and breaking down the workforce by the different generations on what it is they want, and sort of holding up the mirror to our executive team that the world thinks we're this great technology organization doing one-of-a-kind, robotics out in outer planets. And yet our workforce, or our workplace, is 1950s government. And so how do you create this environment for a workforce that expects us to be as good or better than the colleges from which they come? So that was the premise. We have a ton of traditionalists still in our organization. We're one of those organizations. Last week we celebrated somebody with 50 years of employment. It's not unusual for JPL to have these people that started the space exploration. Inside their brains is the technology that got us to Mars. And we are constantly looking at how do we pull from the brains of the first people who ever, successfully landed on Mars, and the only country that's ever been able to do that, and pull that technology and knowledge out of the brains of the people who invented it. So that's sort of the, the burning platform for us. People will be leaving. By 2025, we expect our workforce to be 20% boomers and traditionalists, and the rest made up of millennials and next gen. So we need, that was the burning platform for us. Inside of a government organization, funded by government, managed by Caltech, both of which are sort of stayed in tradition. And so we have to just, through data and empowering our employees, look at the workspace and the technology and introduce things in a very small scale. So we typically do things on trial basis. We take a department, an organization, our mechanical engineers who are involved in every project that we do, and say, what kind of workspace would help you be more efficient? What tools do you need? How can we configure within this brick and mortar that we have and make this a place that you want to come to work?
Great, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the blending of this group that you've created, the Workforce 2025, with HR and IT? And
yeah, so the creation of this initiative was really brought on by this change in the demographics, and I pulled in our OCIO, our head of facilities CFO, our head of engineering, and myself. And so the four of us are really looking at, and we sort of say, we don't know the work we're going to be doing, the missions that we'll be assigned to do for the future, but what we can control is how we go about doing it. And so we have initiatives called the Workplace, Workforce, and Work Practices Revolution for 2025. And it takes all of us. So it's all of us working in collaboration on what is it that we want to do, how do we fund it, how do we support each other's initiatives through our investment requests, and really partnering to say, we all believe in this, we all know why we need to do it, and we're going to support each other. Instead of fighting for the limited funds, we're working for a common goal.
Excellent, thank you. Avi, what's happening at Kaiser with dealing with demographics and the workspace within the hospital environment?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to gush a little bit because a few years back I designed a couple of buildings at JPL, and every couple of years I go back and I look, the MMIC building up on the hill, the Deep Space Flight Communications, that is mine, including the Mars Rover 2 mission control.
Yes.
So there we go. But then we are in healthcare. So I've arrived to this company about 3 years ago, joined the team and discovered that indeed most of my colleagues have been there for 30, 35 years. Though most of the people in my office are in their 20s and 30s. So how do we cross this? Well, let me explain a little bit about Kaiser. So if you do not know much about us, we are not a health insurance company, though we sell health insurance. We are not a hospital system, though we are a hospital system. We are not in the business of providing healthcare services. We do not make money by providing services. We make money by not providing services. We look at healthcare industry not as an industry, but as a mission. We were started during World War II, and our mission was to keep the workforce of 190,000 people that worked at 4 Kaiser steel mills, 1 Kaiser steel mill and 4 Kaiser shipyards, both East Coast and West Coast. We need to keep them healthy so they can build those ships for the war effort. It was 1 ship a day by the time the war is ended. We were producing that much. So that's our core mission. Keep your members healthy. So keeping the members healthy, we've been in AI since 1940s. We collect information, we explore information, we use it, we process it, and we turn it in towards towards keeping you healthy. So that means that I need to be aware and know of all the folks that are our members, all the folks that are our patients, that are our employees. So demographics is number one for us. We need to be in the forefront. We need to know where to go. So now if you would ask me to describe our space, I don't have to invite you to one of my clinics. I don't have to invite you to my office because you have it right here. All Steel is one of our vendors. Now, as it happens, my office is All Steel case. So, but it's exactly the same. And I just opened back in September a 105,000 square foot medical office building in Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw, right out of the ashes of the Rodney King LA riots. That is also Steel case. Sorry. But many other buildings are all steel. But the point is, this is our environment. Doctors don't have offices. The doctors' offices are glass made out of dirt system, 65 square feet. And they don't really spend time in their offices. This is just a place, the beginning or the end of the day, to keep some possessions. And the enclave, it's the best description, is a cross between an Admiral's Club at the airport and an Orient Express train, because their offices are couchettes, about the same size as a couchette on a train, but the space is an enclave. We actually call it an enclave. It's like this. Just like when you go to Admiral's Club or American Express Club, we have amenities areas. We've got sofas, massage chairs, food, private meeting places. It's all about collaboration. And you choose your level of comfort. Do I want to be actively involved with my colleagues? Do I want to be semi-involved? Do I want to be private? I provide these environments that are for all of that. And the same thing when you are in the clinic. In the clinic, the old clinics, the doctor would have his office. The nurses would have their own spaces, all behind doors. There'd be lots of exam rooms. And each doctor in the clinic would have its own territory. I have my 5 exam rooms or my 6 exam rooms. Don't touch them, they're mine. This is pretty much for us is first come, first serve for the patients. The clusters are small, no more than 12 exam rooms. So you have an area just like you have right here behind us in the middle of your space with those ergonomic tables. They are not assigned. Nurses, medical assistants, doctors, they all use them. Unrestricted. The doctor could simply get his next appointment on his phone, shows up, looks on an electronic dashboard to confirm what is on his iPhone, because indeed his patient is room 3. He walks in, the MA had already pre-screened the patient, he's had his encounter, After the visit, he steps out of one of those desks, finishes the case, writes the prescriptions. By the time the patient is dressed, gets downstairs, the medications are waiting, the x-ray visit is already booked, just kind of wait another 5-10 minutes, he's got his imaging, and walks away. The doctor, if somehow it gets a cancellation or has an opening for, let's say, for 20 minutes in his appointment day, he would simply step no more than about 50 paces out of the clinic into the meadow. The meadow is a place with about 10 workspaces, smaller than these, but also ergonomic and flexible, and 2 glass fishbowl, I call them, in case they need to handle a video appointment. And otherwise, there are a couple of sofas. They can have some snacks. They can chat with colleagues about some of their cases, and they call them in a video conference, and then resume, go back into to the clinic once the next appointment is prompted on his phone. At lunchtime, he may walk on the roof garden, and then have lunch with his colleagues. If he hasn't done his 10,000 steps, I got only 4,700 today, we have a drive path around the building, and we have exercise equipment that is also open to people in the neighborhood. They don't actually have to be members to use it. They simply go in and use it. There is also a Starbucks-like cafe, and that people can stop and have their coffee or a sandwich. You may attend a cooking class. You may go on the yoga lawn, and there may be a class there. Join a yoga class and resume your activities. So that's the workplace of today in healthcare. The way
That's fantastic.
I have a question.
What a patient experience that must be.
So what made the medical industry make this radical change?
Okay, so as I said, we don't look at ourselves as an industry. We look at ourselves as a mission of keeping people healthy. That includes all our members and includes all our employees. Now, we have the size that allows us to actually make this happen. So, give you a sense of size, we have 200,000 employees, 54,000 nurses, 20 plus, close to 22,000 doctors. We are in Mid-Atlantic, Georgia, Colorado, all of West Coast, and Hawaii. 12 million members, but our mission is to provide high quality, affordable health care to our members and have an impact on the health of their community. So our goal is that all the 65 million people that live in the states where we provide health care. And we have all kinds of free clinics and all kinds of education outreach and other programs where we actually reach to all 65 million people. So because of our mission, we look at that way. And giving our size, over $65 billion a year in revenues, what we do it at grand scale. We're not quite Amazon, but we actually provide medical services to Amazon.
But clearly, it's a great example of a mission-driven organization where everything rolls up to the strategy and the mission of the company, which is what we try to do in the corporate workplace. But we're not obviously as successful. And you've really blended the physical and the digital, which takes me to a question for Matt. I'm sure Matt's probably salivating, thinking, wow, I'd love to see some of the things that are happening over at Kaiser and implement them at separate energy. Matt, how do you see technology impacting today's workplace, and what are the trends that you're seeing?
Okay, so first I got to go through our company history as well to follow suit. No, I'm just kidding. But to follow suit, I did help design communications for one of the Kaiser Permanentes that was here in California, and I did try and visit a JPL one time, but we couldn't get a reservation. So I feel part of the community already. Okay, so technology in today's workplace. A couple things. I mean, first off, I feel like there's a lot of really, and I come into the world from a collaboration engineer's perspective, right? I want to help people collaborate, communicate, and effectively do their jobs. And I have a very practical, methodical approach to how I create solutions. So a lot of what's amazing today is that we've been trying to roll out these technologies forever. We've had these technologies that existed, and business has kind of pushed back, saying, we're not quite ready for that. We have an existing workflow that we're okay with, and things aren't quite reliable enough. But we're not really ready to make a huge leap in our workflows to get to something else. And we're finally finding that. We have enough new blood, or there's enough interest, or there's other talent that wants to come in, or retaining new talent, that we can say, look, we can automate all of these things. Half of your day is spent doing menial tasks, looking at conference rooms, or trying to find something that's available, or trying to communicate with someone and it's not very effective, and you're sending multiple emails or otherwise. We can automate those things. Half of your day is spent just looking up information about customers or about systems or about whatever it is, or failure to connect or retransmitting information. We've had the ability to fix this for a long time, but it takes a different workflow. Instead of using tool A that you're familiar with, use tool B. Oh, it has different colors. I'm used to green stuff, and this is blue. I can't handle that. So one of the biggest things is that industry is finally ready. They're accepting these changes, and we're allowed to affect workflow. And we've been trying to affect it positively for a long time, and finally people are being receptive, especially in a utility. We have a lot of the same issues with people who've been working there for 50 years, 50, and they've had the same tool the whole time, and they don't want to change it. We still have a mainframe. We have all kinds of older stuff that we're finally starting to get rid of. And again, it's because people are not adverse to that change anymore. We're finding that generationally, or signs of times, that people are accepting that things can be different and they can be better.
Are you seeing that there's...
Even the very experienced person that's been there for 50 years has a smartphone.
Oh yeah.
Started.
Well, and even with them, like we're having to compete with consumer technologies, right? Even if it's your great grandfather who needs a cell phone, your mother has probably gotten them an iPhone and walked them through how to use an iPhone. And it's funny. My grandfather was like, I can't use this thing. I need big buttons and I need all these other funny things, but. She got him going with his new iPhone, and he only dials phone numbers. He doesn't use it to browse the web or send email or anything. He still prints out the cat pictures and hands them to us. But again, he accepted the device, and he spent the time to learn it. Not all of it, but he did.
Are you seeing a push from the younger generations to push, to adopt more of this technology?
Yes, I think a lot of it's about. Employee attractiveness and retention type of things. They have a workflow they're used to. They're coming into the office environment knowing already how to communicate to other people, to their friends, their classmates, using these types of technologies. And it's our struggle to try and adapt that workflow and that mentality, that mythology of how do I connect with my peers and into the enterprise, right? In a way that's typically you'd have a parent that's trying to make sure that their interactions are safe, and now it's kind of the other side. We want you to be able to collaborate with the people you need to collaborate with, but we want to make sure that the data is safe. And it's kind of a struggle right now because the ability to share and collaborate is so widespread and so accessible. And the problem is now trying to retain your data. What happens if you share a file, then you collaborate with a partner, with 20 different partners, and it's an active thing that you're constantly developing. 6 months later, you forget about it, and that customer data is still sitting there, and one of those people have gone off to some other company. How can you have some flags to say, hey, we noticed you haven't had any control over this for a while. Is this something that you want to pull back?
So Kaiser's looks like they've solved that issue.
Well,
somewhat.
We have a huge IT workforce that is constantly being vigilant, but yeah, for us it's all about the experience. So if I have an appointment today at the doctor's, I checked in, just like you check in at Southwest. I pre-checked yesterday on my phone. I've already paid my copay. I'm done. I walk in. I scan my confirmation on the kiosk, or I simply wave to one of the greeters that walks towards me, and I show my phone. She scans my phone, and I'm in the system. And then the building knows I'm there, so I can go have a cup of coffee. I can go and play on the gym. I could be anywhere, and when the time is for the appointment, it tells me go in 3rd floor, clinic 303.
And how did you get Medicare patients to adopt that?
So, yeah, so we have about 35 to 40% of our patients that use this.
Wow,
Not all of them.
That's pretty good.
And that's why we recognize we have multiple generations. So some people are still in the ATM age. So in Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw, I have 6 kiosks, 6 ATMs. So they can go on and be independent, not talk with anyone, and then just do their thing, and they're in. Others, they want a lot of service. We're 2 generations, and we've got desks and formal, kind of like the old style, going to the bank, talk with the banker. We have those, talk. Others may be coming a little bit challenged. They come in with a walker, or they come with a bunch of kids, and they cannot keep everybody in one place, and we'll walk them to one of our lounge areas, and we call them vignettes. And we got vignettes with sofas, vignettes with armchairs, vignettes with tall bar tables, and we complete their registration on a tablet right where they are. And then they get to roam the space. They arrive at their space, talking technology. They are in, the medical assistant welcomes them, takes them into the room, gets them ready. They pre-interview them. The doctor walks in. If we need to bring a specialist, the specialist comes in on the interactive screen. We have the consult right there. When they walk away, they walk downstairs. The prescription is already waiting for them in the pharmacy. They will go in and get their blood work and the radiology. Now, so let's see my appointment. Okay, my wife's appointment yesterday was at 11 a.m. By the time she was home around 4 o'clock, she received all her results.
Wow.
Explained, described the range, and also showed her entire history of her being in the Kaiser world, of how that same test evolved over the years, and if she's getting better or worse. Everything was tracked and explained. And then this morning she got a letter and an email from the doctor explaining what those results were.
That's great.
So we're looking at the experience, how to entice you, how you arrive, how you experience, how you exit, and the follow-up.
So one thing to add to that, onto the question, one thing that also that's been held up is rules and regulations, right? You know, especially around HIPAA compliances. We have the same rules and regulations with customer data. You know, you don't want your neighbor to know how much energy you use and whatnot, right? And we've been trying to affect regulation for a long time, saying customers want to access their data differently. They want to get their healthcare reports on their cell phone. You couldn't do that before. There were regulations that it couldn't be emailed to you because you couldn't verify who you were, type of things. Mm-hmm. So, you know, affecting regulation has been a big part of, you know, adopting technology as well.
I mean, it's true, and you know, every single iPhone update, I have to wait about 3 weeks till I get a message from Kaiser IT says okay to update, because they worked out the bugs, they checked all the HIPAA compliances, that the update was not gonna interfere with any of those. They worked all up, and sometimes as much as 2 months later, I get a notification until they worked out all of this. And sometimes we skip a couple upgrades until IT is comfortable with the upgrade.
Interesting. My next question is for Rodney. Oops. Sorry. What are the trends in the workplace design and technology that promote teamwork and collaboration? What are the trends that you're seeing?
Well, one word, experience. It's their experience, you know. We talk about, private spaces, collaboration spaces, open spaces, game areas, and all of that stuff. That stuff's all good, but it has to have a good experience. People have to feel good about it. And you also, can I mic on? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? And the other part is the culture. You could have, I was just talking to someone about culture, I think it was John, talking about culture and strategy. And that you could have a great strategy and if it's not implemented right, the culture will just eat it up. It just, because the culture will just take it over. And you need to, understand the culture of your organization, and you need to design to that culture a little bit. You could tweak it. If you want to change the culture, you have to bring almost the entire organization into the mix to help implement that change of culture. And workplace design technology. I mean, technology, all the technology that is out today, all the stuff that we've been seeing around here, that's helping, change how people work. There was Gropius. There's a quote from him. "We want our architecture adapted to our world of machines." This is our machine. That iPhone's our machine. And all of that technology. So now we're designing for these new machines that we have. So.
Great. I'm curious in the culture comment, how are you incorporating culture into the workspace?
Yeah, so we say culture eats strategy for lunch, right?
Yeah.
So we do culture. We've done a culture survey. We have a sort of what we say legacy is JPL culture, which is it's a very free-for-all kind of free world campus. And that's they want that for innovation. And so the workplace rules are pretty loose at JPL. And we have a great tolerance for genius. So that's kind of what we're known for. But we also do culture surveys and how the employees see us. And so that's part of the mirror that we hold up to executives when we think everybody wants to work at JPL. That's a sort of a thing we hear. We have lots of applicants, but we also have a war for talent. So when employees come in and they find out that they can't access the data, that we haven't digitized our processes, that they can't find out how to do training on a YouTube video, and they're searching around the campus trying to find the relationships that we've been built on. And so to move or find a way to keep the relationship culture, but build in the technology for ease of access is really what we're trying to do. And we have a whole digital transformation process that we're trying to do.
Right. Plus you've got the federal regulations,
Yeah,
and
then there's NASA. Yeah.
Then there's that.
Which makes it that much more
Yeah.
difficult.
So Avi, what trends are you seeing to promote teamwork and collaboration in your area?
Well, I kind of described it. We'd look, trying to incorporate and embrace every single manner in which people want to work nowadays. Because as an organization, we have a shared vision. We actually spend a lot of time telling our own stories individually and to bond on our stories. So all our stories about how we're gonna take care of our members. So different people have different experiences, different work styles, no different than the creative talent at JPL. All individuals, and we try to celebrate that. And there are people that like to work collaboratively. There are people that want more privacy. There are people, that want to be interactive. Most likely, since we have a sense of mission, everyone wants to collaborate with everyone else. And to them, technology is extremely important because with technology, I reach everything. We've eliminated paper. Even in design and construction, all our platform, e-builder, everything is in e-builder, everything is digital. In the medical side, everything is electronic, and there's no paper, including your prescriptions, including your radiology, everything is digital. And that is freeing because a doctor can be reviewing your files at home. Your surgery scheduler does not have to come anymore in an office, commute 35 miles to work in an office. The scheduler works out of her or his home. And and also my invoices to my architects and my builders, I don't have to have an accountant in my office. It could be somebody actually in Hawaii that pays my bills. We just simply embrace the technology. Our difficulty with it is now scale. All our partners that we partner with have to be able to scale up to us and service. When you have almost 22,000 doctors, the tablets have to cover all the medical files, all the technology, different specialties, everything that they need to do their practice, their art of healing. So that is usually the problem. I know we opened our recent medical office buildings with one type of tablet that was crashing a lot because of the apps. Then we simply snatched all of those. We went to another tablet that seemed to be more robust, except was not intuitive. And the doctors were wasting too much time getting lost in apps, getting in and out. And we switched recently to a third manufacturer that seems to be well robust and also intuitive. So we'll keep working on that.
Can you talk about your innovation lab where you study?
Yeah, so yes, we do have an innovation lab here in Tustin, actually, in Orange County. We do two types of innovation there. That's on one side, we mock up, build offices. We have a virtual clinic there where we can bring doctors and nurses and volunteers, pretend patients to try to experience the environment. And we have the other side is the Star Trek portion of it, where we have those tricorders and all those devices that the doctors come and play with. And that's where we test them, that's where we crash them, that's where we can see if this technologies can be integrated in the way we practice. And we have lots of partners, actually several of you in this room work with us in one way or another. So we are all inclusive.
The technology, it's all about the technology.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And we do that while we are, carbon negative. That's our goal to achieve for all our buildings. We have 100 million square feet. By 2025, we have to be carbon neutral. And we are already, all our buildings are that are designed at least gold or platinum, LEED. And we soon will be the second largest generator of solar power in the country after Google.
They have $8 billion budget for construction.
Not quite that much, but yeah, that's
$7 billion.
that's what we
$7
spend every year. Yeah.
Next, let's hear from the next generation, Jenna. So, what's your vision of an ideal workplace?
You know, we keep talking about collaboration and open spaces, but you know, our generation mostly wants things that work. We're used to having technology, an iPhone that you can pull out of your pocket. You know, I'm that person who waits online for the next iPhone to come out and buys one as soon as I can. And you know, we're just looking for something that works, and we're tired of hearing excuses like, it's worked this way for years, and we, you know, just kind of deal with it, because it just gets very frustrating, because we're used to things that, you know, work immediately as opposed to having to wait 20 minutes for this to download so that we can do our work. So we just want things to be easy and things to, you know, function as expected. And the great thing about working for Crestron is we are adapting to those needs. Even in that room over there, we have the Crestron Mercury, which is a huddle-space technology. But if you're like me and you like to work remotely and you do better when you're not surrounded by your friends and colleagues to distract you, then you're still able to be part of the team and collaborate easily, because the Mercury allows, you know, a small group of people to get together and to have a conversation with somebody in a different building, in a different state, easily. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, what conferencing system you use. You can use Skype for Business, you can use WebEx, you can use Zoom, and you're able to have a conversation and, you know, not go through several different hiccups. And another great thing that Crestron has done that, you know, ties into a lot of the discussion today is we have technology where you can whip out your phone and you can find a room. You don't have to wander around a skyscraper trying to figure out what conference room you're looking for, and then you get to that conference room, it doesn't have the technology you need to have your meeting. We have actually solved that, where you can find out what's in that room, what you need to do, and where exactly in that building that room is, and you can actually schedule it directly from your phone. So if it's an ad hoc meeting, you just need a Mercury room, you're able to book that room.
I think we all want it to work.
Yes.
I get very frustrated. I watch TV and I watch these guys put on the computer and everything just pops up. It doesn't work like that for me. I don't know. I can't get it. I get very frustrated.
What about the physical aspects of the workplace?
Physical aspects, I've worked in the cubicles where, you know, you're surrounded by 20 other people and, you know, there's always somebody popping up over the edge, and that's why I'm saying, you know, I like the ability to close my door or, you know, be remote and get my work done. But then I also like to be able to come to my office and have that collaboration, because there's nothing better than a face-to-face meeting to build relationships. So I want that, you know, space where I can meet with people and, you know, there's technology around me that will allow me to, you know, have my meeting with ease, or, you know, show my information on the screen without having to, you know, download this and then manipulate that and then, you know, hope that works.
Right. Matt, can you talk a little bit about the challenges of making things work for millennials and standards and?
Yeah, I was just thinking about one of the things that came to mind. You know, there's this really cool app that you can put on your phone that finds the conference rooms, and as you approach the room, even it pops up all your stuff, and it can connect your calls and everything like that. So, quick poll, I guess. If you were working in an enterprise and they said, hey, you have the option of deploying this app to your phone that does these cool things, but it always knows where you are, and you know, it's on you're carrying your personal phone. How many people would voluntarily install that on their phone, their company's thing? So it's interesting, right? We can, workflow automation is great and it's powerful, and it's things that are really, you know, can make your work environment nicer. But at the same time, you know, we still have a big trust issue with, you know, how can I make sure that you're not making sure that I'm washing my hands for 3 seconds in the bathroom, right? Or, you know, that I go on a walk and I'm afraid my boss is going to find out that I go on a 20-minute walk instead of a 15-minute walk in my break times. So most of our issues are really with, you know, there are technical issues. There are issues with, you know, vendors, you know, saying that we do everything, and there's, you know, technical issues with integrations. But honestly, from a high level, once you pick your partner and once you pick your direction, you know, everything's going to have issues. It'll maybe different issues, but nothing's going to be perfect. And it's really about building a partnership with someone that you trust and that you know, is going to get you to your long-term goals, and then working out those issues as you go along. But the bigger issues we have is with culture and affecting culture and getting and earning the trust of our employees so that they feel comfortable installing that app onto their device, right?
I don't know that you even have to do the app. I mean, my phone, when I get out of the office and I plug it in my car, it tells me how long it's going to take me to get home. If I do
Unless
something
you shut it off.
routinely, It tells me you're gonna be there in 15 minutes, 30 minutes or something.
So interestingly enough though, like you do that with your iPhone or your Google phone or whatever, right? And generally people are kind of comfortable with sharing that type of data with Google or with Apple, but would you be comfortable with a company app giving you that type of information? Knowing where you are, knowing where your house is and how long it takes you to get from here to your house. So that those are the struggles that we're facing, is that we have all these really cool workflow automations that we can provide our employees. We can get you to a meeting room, we can get you from your house to wherever, but there's still the fear of personal space and boundaries.
Well, I was just looking at a human capital management system. We're going to be going to a new cloud-based, and one of the vendors has that as part of their demo, that based on their smartphone app, it does all the timekeeping. So they're monitoring sort of the work that's being done, and so people don't have to do any timekeeping. And in the government world, that's an important thing. And I said, oh my gosh, that would never go over at JPL.
They don't want
No, nobody wants to be watched like that.
Well, there's a limit to the trust, and I think it comes with the narrative, with the story you can put together, and the rationale for it. So then there are limits. For example, at Kaiser, Alexa is not welcomed, or anyone like Alexa. That is a technological boundary that we're not comfortable with, because Alexa is basically listening nonstop, and that is a breach of privacy. So any technology at that level is not welcome in our organization. So I don't have a secretary anymore. I don't have an assistant. And I can't bring my Alexa to the office to book things for me because it's listening to everything I say.
So I also wanted to applaud a couple things here. I mean, first on the Kaiser side, I really want to applaud your workflow automations and your ability to kind of step back and reimagine the experience, right? And be able to automate some of that, because as a U.S. healthcare consumer, it's really cumbersome, and anything that helps me understand or navigate it faster it is very much appreciated. And I'd be willing to kind of step outside of my comfort zone to take on some of those, to reap some of those automations. So thank you, great job on your workflow automations. On the other side, JPL, your ability to listen to your employee base and understand what their, not only just their requirements are, but also their requests is really difficult. There's a lot of people that just say, you know what, I know what's best for you, and I will implement this really cool, awesome thing. And you miss the mark in some cases. It could be the really, I say this all the time, but it doesn't matter if it's a $5 item or a $5 million item, and it doesn't matter if it works well or not. If no one uses it, it's a waste of money. And your ability to communicate with your consumers is invaluable.
But see, there's a limit to asking your consumers and what they want. One example, we say that some time ago, if we would have asked what the consumers want, they would have said, we want faster horses. You would not have made that leap out of the horse and buggy if you're asking what your customer wanted. So there is a certain level. So what we do, we never ask what the customer wants. We are trying to ask how the customer lives their life. Be them being octogenarian, or 20-something, or 30-something, how do they live, and how we can integrate healthy living in their lifestyle. And that's where we look for our solutions.
That's great. I have one last question for you. This has been on my mind for a long time. The blending of the physical and the digital workplace, getting HR, facilities, and IT to play in the sandbox. And who owns the digital workplace, or who owns this? What are you doing in your companies to craft alliances with these three organizations, and what are the challenges that you're having in that? And my third question is, who do you think will own all of this, the blending of the physical and digital?
Why do you say just three organizations? Why couldn't security be part of that?
Security as well, yeah.
And I also added to that list a staff representative or representatives to represent the workforce.
Yeah, do you see a chief workplace strategy officer or a chief work officer?
Yeah, I think some of the high-tech organizations are going to the sort of people experience officer that might incorporate all that. But, you know, we're a highly collaborative organization. That's everything we do is team-based. So for us, and you know, we probably don't have single point. We're not very good at single points of accountability, which coming from a for-profit world is troublesome to me. But you know, so we all own it. We know our piece, but we have gone in as the initiative is a combined initiative that requires all of us to play in the sandbox. And so, you know, we know that, and we just keep the dialogue going amongst us on where are we going, what do we want, what our employees want, and how much funding do we have.
That's fantastic.
So and on our side, it's interesting because you know, facilities they work with the population that's going to be in the building. They want to make sure they give them the tools, and then they'll deploy something that, you know, maybe works suboptimally or is redundant with some other systems that we already have. You know, we could have done this for half the cost if we'd leverage what we already have. And we're finding that we can be much more successful if we work together. Imagine that, if we communicate and work together, we can work smarter, not harder, right? And so the hard thing is who do you send to facilities to do this on behalf of IT? And I've kind of worked myself into that position. Fortunately, I enjoy being part of that. But there isn't any silo that exists today with that, you know, moniker across it. You know, IT facilities relationship manager. You know, it ends up being kind of almost more of a project manager, but the project manager has very different roles and responsibilities. You know, someone needs to kind of ingest what you want and create kind of a roadmap that's feasible for you to get there. A lot of the things that I provide also is kind of a more, I don't know, a little voice of reason. Like, are you sure you want a ginormous thing hanging over your person's head? That doesn't sound very safe. You know, or it's too large for someone to be able to ingest that data. What if we re-envision it a little bit differently? We have these other things that we're being successful. Let's take a look at some of those other options. So really, it's, you know, to JPL's credit, you know, they really came together at a higher level and understood, you know, what's our mission, what do we want to accomplish, and how can we work together and create dialogues to accomplish that task. And you know, hopefully you have teams that individually support those efforts and you know, assign labor to actually, you know, push things out. But it's tough. Ownership in the end, you know, from the IT perspective, we're kind of more going to the cloud. So IT is, again, more of a consultative role. Yeah, even operationally in IT, it's outsourced. So again, IT is it's almost more of a project-based internal labor. We understand what the business needs, we understand our requirements, we're trying to be good stewards of the company, right? So it's an important bridge that companies are coming to right now. You know, facilities are able to work independently, security was able to work independently, architects were able to work independently, but you know, IT has requirements of what table you put in there, right?
Right, exactly.
There needs to be power, there needs to be conduit, there needs to be, you know, work height, the TV needs to be here, therefore everything needs to come down a little bit. I have raised flooring that I need. There's all kinds of different things. So it's really important that we have those dialogues.
Well, we are a labor management partnership. So if you don't know what an LMP is, it's an organization where the union sits on the board of the organization. So we are organized, started to supporting unions. When LMPs were invented, we were one of the first LMP. And so it's all about collaboration. It's about the mission, no different than what Cosette was describing. And the challenges that you were talking about, Matt, for us, they are there. It's just we have a word for it, socialization. We socialize everything. There are no top-down decisions. It's all socialization and consensus.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank our wonderful panelists. I mean, this is really, really informative to hear what's going on in other companies and understand what millennials are interested in. I'd like to open it up for a couple of questions from the audience. Does anyone? Yes.
I'm just curious, because you all seem to have very utopian environments that you work in day to day.
I wish.
What is your biggest challenge that you're facing that you're trying to fix at the moment?
There isn't a single one. We have old buildings. We have data that's stored all over the place in all sorts of different formats. And so trying to digitize to do what Kaiser's done, which I understand has been a multiple decade process to get to where they are. And, you know, we're trying to do it in 5 years. It's impossible to, I mean, it's sometimes impossible to think about how we're ever going to get there. But we have the goal.
Yeah, it's easy to envision the utopian, right? The end goal, but it comes down to budget, right? Our company has over 250 sites in Southern California alone, and most of them are very old facilities. So we try and tackle, you know, what would be the, you know, we have these initiatives, Fueling Our Future initiatives that are, you know, if we were to prioritize one project that would help your workforce be more productive or save money or whatever, you know, what would that be? We kind of, you know, there's a big Fueling Our Future. A lot of people come together to throw labor at these ideas and what would work and what doesn't. So we work toward the utopian, whatever that is. Every year the utopia changes, right? We learn different things, our workforce changes, something does or doesn't work. But our actual deployment of utopia, you know, shifts as you get budget, as you know, find facilities that need renovation or otherwise.
Money is number one. So even at $65 billion, we're a nonprofit organization. So the more we are successful at keeping you healthy, the larger our margin is. And that margin has a structure that a certain percentage of the margin goes into buying technology. Some goes into replacing equipment, some into replacing buildings, and a portion of it goes into reaching out and giving out free clinics, free services, and so on. So even at that scale, we are always working on a 10-year plan, and that we keep updating twice a year and revisiting it completely in deep dive, thorough analysis, because the projects get reprioritized and analyzed based on cost and on the impact to patient. Because is it patient front service versus am I updating in a building? Is it good to do or is it necessary to the patient care? So we're constantly re-examining this twice a year in deep dives. And the same way we have 700 buildings. Most of them are old. So we're going to probably build fewer and fewer, and we're going to refurbish a lot more.
Avi, I'd like to ask you a question about Kaiser. The Kaiser facilities or buildings in my area are not like the one you described. Are there any plans to update them? I mean,
What's your area?
Where are
I live
you?
in the South Bay.
The South Bay, yes.
So I'm talking about Torrance. We do have a new dermatology building near the intersection of the 91 and the 405 freeway, but the other ones on the Pacific Coast Highway near Crenshaw are not updated. I mean, when I go in, I stand in line and I get papers back as receipts. I would love to be able to scan them ahead of time. Is that going to happen eventually?
So we have 700 buildings. So the problem with 700 buildings is that when you build a new building that is fully integrated in this, we call it RAD, that was reimagining ambulatory care design.
So not radical?
Reimagining. And that we kind of want this, we persuaded the rest of our family of Kaiser. So we are taking this nationally. So we rebranded into the Next Gen Health Hub. And so the problem with that is if ET calls home, somebody has to be at home to pick up and answer. So we are looking at how we're going to leverage our funds and modernize all of those buildings. Now, in your area, so we started this about a year and a half ago. The first building we built was actually in your area. It was a 8,000 square foot health hub in Huntington Beach. The next one was in Signal Hill. That was 20,000 square feet. then was Murrieta, then was Chino, and then Thousand Oaks and Ventura. Mine that I just opened in September, 105,000 square feet or 80 doctors, is in Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw. The area that burned 25 years ago at the LA riots, Rodney King LA riots, that's where we put. We've got 8 acres. We're going to put 3 facilities there. Opened the first one last year. We're already designing the next one to open in 5 years. And so it takes time. Even with a lot of money, 700 buildings are a lot of buildings. So we are going around step by step.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Hector Hernandez, and I'm responsible for managing hospitals. And while I understand that I love technology and great utopian places that I probably will never work in probably the next 20 years, my biggest issue right now is bridging the gap between the millennials and baby boomers, and dealing like with nurses. I probably have like around 1,000 nurses, and bringing the new grads that love technology and the old nurses that hate technology. That's a huge issue in healthcare. And I do understand when you're talking about the applications. We actually promoted an application, the secure texting, and every text stopped. Nobody wants to be monitored. And that's probably the huge bridge or the gap that I have not been able to bridge now. How do I connect the old generations, or my generation, which is the baby boomers, and some other generation, because I do work with doctors, and some of the doctors are in their 70s and like 2 under 80s, and they do not understand the millennials, and they refuse to use. I mean, I still have some doctors that use flip phones, and that's the reality now. I mean, it is great to work in the utopian world, but in my reality, it's a huge gap when I have many of my nurses on their 60s that they don't want to retire, but they are not pro-technology, and all the baby boomers now, or the millennials, that they want technology. So it's right now what I'm trying to do is I get these groups together and ask for opinions. I mean, I get them together and I try to practice something that is called shared governance, but it's not that easy. So I would love any recommendations on your side, guys. Thank you.
I think our secret sauce it's the LMP, the Labor Management Partnership.
I don't have labors.
That everything we do. So, we have dozens and dozens of unions, and there are different unions in different regions, and different union partnerships and agreements in every region.
So we don't work with you.
So that's what we work. So the advantage of that is that everything we do, we socialize it. Everything we embrace. The union and the doctors and the administrators and the managers, everybody embrace it. Everyone has a voice of it, including the patients. We have patient panels in every single hospital and in every single region, and the design center, they have this. Everything we design, we have task forces where nurses, doctors, administrators, they're all represented. So we do not move forward until we all embrace it. So it's the sense. So that's our shared vision. That's why we spend a lot of time telling each other our own stories and finding a commonality of purpose. We have a mission, and we all believe. You go and meet a Kaiser employee or a contract employee or a Kaiser nurse that is union, or one union or another. They all, at the end of the day, share their vision. They all are members of their unions or whatever, but we all have, if you work at Kaiser, you have a mission. If you do join on that mission, you're not welcome at Kaiser.
So to add a little bit to that, in my experience, there's 2 ways to go about it, right? There's the top-down methodology of this is the new workflow, right? So you're going to have a culture, you're going to have an existing workflow that starts with something and goes through a billion different steps and is very cumbersome and gets to somewhere, but everyone's used to it, right? And you want to affect change in that. And that's a cultural change, right? And people are used to this. It's stable. It might not be great, but they're used to it and they know what the outcomes are. And any change into that, their world's going to explode. They don't know how to do their job, and it's the end of the world, right? So either it comes out of top down, right? decisions are made, everyone's issues are worked out, and it comes down from the top and says this is going to be the new workflow. You know, we've all weighed in on this. You've had your chance to express your feedback. You've had your little sessions of, hey, we're going to go through this, we're going to do training and all this other stuff, right? But it's a top-down methodology. Or you supply something and it becomes very technical and very cumbersome, and you supply two workflows that can work side by side. You know, and where they're integrated with each other, where you can see them at every step, and you end up here, and then you gradually get that buy-in from your user community. You have the generation that still does it the old way and works with the text thing where they have to type everything in, and then you have the other generation that uses their cell phone and works in a web app, right? But the result's the same. And over time, you know, I've worked in those areas. You know, we've had people that do dial-up to different substations, and it's unreliable, and it's cumbersome, and it's difficult. And I have a different tool that I use to do the exact same thing. It's reliable, it takes me seconds, and I can be in and out like that. And either I can show them the power of that and say, hey, come over my side, check this out, and you gradually reduce the people that are working that old environment, or they just continue to work in their old, silo, and eventually they retire.
I'm afraid we're out of time. I could listen to you all for another hour. I want to thank you all. If you enjoyed this, I hope that you come back to our next Workplace Evolutionaries event and join We. How many people are members of We? I encourage you to join the Workplace Evolutionaries. Our mission is to change the world one workplace at a time. Having conversations like this, pushing forward on education. We have webinars. We have a website. If you want to go to we.ifmo.org, you can learn all about us. There's a great video that explains the Workplace Evolutionaries. We have a knowledge library. We have Friends of We. They're normally HR associations, technology associations. We'd love to partner with other digital workplace technology associations and HR associations. And so I encourage you to check out our website, and you're on our mailing list for our next event, and please join We. And we're just happy to have you, and we want to continue the conversation and continue changing the world one workplace at a time.
One thing, we have We events. At the bar. No, it's a social thing. It's at the bar.
Thank you, everyone. Before you go, I wanted to present our panelists. Thank you, panelists. This was an incredible We have a little thank you gift to show our appreciation for you. So,
color-coded. For the generations. They're generational. You get a flip phone. You get a memo pad. You get an iPhone. Here's your dial-up modem.
Thing in my pocket.
Yeah. Is the seating comfortable?
Yeah, it is.
It looks comfortable.
thank you. Again, I want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to let you know that you can continue to get a quick drink or continue the conversation. Before you go, we also want to raffle off a couple of things that we have. So one of them is an Alexa, and I'm going to bring up. Okay, so Tweet.
Avi? No, I'm kidding. Jean Harrington.
It is me. Oh, okay. Is it an Alexa?
Amazon will drop it off tomorrow.
No, really?
She's waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
Okay, Jeannie.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, so the second one is Work on the Move, which the author is here. She can actually sign your book.
Gary Bittler.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you our sponsors. Enjoy the rest of your evening.